So if they want to, it actually helps.
All right, I'm gonna play with it both ways. Just so you know.
With the caveat that
Understanding
elementary reading.
All right.
Yeah. No, I don't even know where I was in that.
It's always every semester. I mean, you're always trying to improve, and you never know what's going to be.
You're in the same building.
Yeah, dynamics. Dynamics. Different. So I had 2 students from Ghana this semester. So it's just
always brings a different feel, but they're all
finance to us in the United States. That's great. It's great. It's great that they that far. This program pathway to all the way to this, all the way to this. I mean, they're pretty impressive. Sometimes it's like.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start. This is 11 o'clock. I'm sure some people will be filtering in, but just to introduce, this is Sister Carrie Johnson. She's from Colorado. She's been here for about 2.5 years. She's in the learning management system. She is the learning management system coordinator. So, and she's been with Island 3.0 pretty much since we've ever had it here. So, she's the professional to go to. So, I'll just turn the time over to her.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Excited to share a few of the things that we've learned. Like you said, I haven't been to crisis. I worked with the initial pilot, and so it's been a good road. We've learned a lot of things, and we're excited that we're on the downhill slope of that. So when you go into your learning management system, when you go into your course, what are some things that you look for? What kinds of data are you looking for when you look at your course? Anything? All right. Presentation, yeah.
First of all, I'm looking to see whether or not students are even completing assignments. So
Okay.
What's turned in, what's not turned in, when it was turned in, that means.
Okay, great. What else do you look for?
How often they're coming into the class.
Great.
Accessing it.
Okay, so how often they're coming in? How often they're accessing it? Good. What else? Yeah.
How they're performing on assessments.
Okay, how are they doing on assessments? Great. So you can do all those things in Frame Honey, correct? In 902. We're going to look at how we can do it in 903. How many of you are already in 903? Okay, how many of you are going in fall? Awesome. You're coming in at a great time. I just have to say, we've learned a lot of things and changed up a lot of things, and so I think you'll have a much better experience as you jump in. So today we're going to just talk a little bit about different types of data that we're going to be able to access. So, for example, we'll start by looking at discussion data. So what kind of information can we get about our students' participation in discussions? What about content? Okay, we'll look at some things some data you can pull from the content area. You can look at quizzes and exams. So how are they performing? We can look at grades. And this is going to be overall grade performance data. And then we'll look at user progress and some information that we can find from user progress specifically about our individual students. And then at the very end, we'll talk about some things that are to come. Okay, so we're just starting to get access to a little bit more data that we want to make available. And so I'll show you some of the new reports that are coming out and that you should be watching for. So we're going to just start with discussion boards. How often, or how many of your classes say, okay, for your discussion assignment, you need to post your initial post and then a couple of replies, right? So here's a great place for you to be able to check that. So when you come into discussions, there's a little statistics up in the top bar there. You can click the statistics tab, and then you can look at the user data. Now this is going to be very general. So overall in the class, how are your students doing? So I have students posting, 3 or 4 or 5 initial posts. I've got anywhere from 7 to 56 replies. Okay, so some students are replying and they're more active. How many are they reading? All right, so we can do this kind of overall for the course, but maybe even more helpful is what you can find specifically for an individual discussion board. All right, so when you go into an individual discussion board, you can look at, once again, the threads. So like in this particular discussion board, everyone's posted one initial post. We've got some replies. Some have not replied. Some have 3 replies, 2 replies, 1 reply, 4 replies, 8 replies. So we can see that they're replying. And then we can see also just overall how active they are. So are they reading other people's posts? So some of them are not. Some of them are going in. I read somebody's post, they wrote my reply, I'm done. Or maybe it's their own post. Actually, for that one it is. I read my own. Okay, but that's all. But then some we have going into 178 different replies and actually reading what other people are posting. And so that can help to gauge our students' engagement into the specific course and that particular discussion board. So that can help you to determine, are they active? Are they involved? Or are they just doing the minimal? When we look at content, one of the things that you can do, if you scroll down to the bottom of an activity, so you scroll down to a page that they're supposed to read, there are 3 tabs at the bottom. There's activity details, learning objectives, and a completion summary. If you click on that completion summary, you're going to be able to see all of your students and have they viewed it. So if you've got students saying, oh, I didn't understand that, you can actually go and check. Did you even read the assignment? But you'll be able to see that, yeah.
If there's a video on that page, would that record whether or not they've actually watched the video, or is that a separate thing?
I'll show you when we get into
Okay.
user preference. You can see how long they spent on an activity or on a page, and that will help you to determine a little bit better if they actually watched it or not,
Okay.
because it shows the amount of time that they spent.
Okay.
Okay, but here on this particular page it says, did they do it or did they not? Okay, and on content pages, as we've transitioned courses, one of the things that we've tried to standardize is that on content pages that they read or just look at or watch a video or something like that, we try to make it a manual checkoff. So if not, then they open the page and they close it and it checks it off. But this way, they actually have to physically say, yep, I'm done with that one. And so that's what these are saying. Yes, I completed it. Yes.
So this would show whether or not they've checked it themselves, saying that they've completed it. And then when you open it and you go to completion summary, it's going to show your whole course, all of your students.
When we go to user progress,
Okay.
we'll look at that. But this will show all of your students, but just for that individual page.
Oh, so all of your students who have come to that page. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Next, let's look at grade data. So with grade data, how did my students do on this particular exam? Kind of pretty nice. A nice bell curve, right? They did pretty well. This is a pretest. So knowing that it's a pretest, how did they do? That's pretty good for a pretest, right? We've got some students who didn't do super well. Is that okay? Yeah, it is. We've got some students who did average. And then I've got a couple of students who might be rock stars in the class already. And so this can help us just get a visual of how the students are doing. This gives us the average, so the mean and the standard deviation. You're going to look at that. You can also export this data to a CSV if you'd like to crunch your own numbers. This, if you just scroll down on that same page, this is another graph that breaks out each individual student and provides you with a visual of, how are they doing? I've got some students who have not done very well. I've got some who are doing, okay. Actually, it's only 50%, so not awesome, but still more than everyone else. But this just gives you a visual of what your students are producing. Now, you can also look at question data. Okay, so if you are on your statistics page, there are 3 tabs. Notice at the top, there's user stats, question stats, and this is a lot more general about each question. And then the question details is what I'm going to show. So the question details jump into the individual question and the responses. So this is live data from a live course, and since I was posting it up a little more publicly, I was trying to protect assessment questions. But you can see the question, and then I got my four responses. The top one, I noticed 13 students chose that top option. I noticed that 12 chose the second option, 9 chose the third option, which is the correct answer, and 5 chose the last answer. So how is my question? Is that a pretty good performing question? Why?
Got 9 out of 40 kids getting it right.
Distractors too.
Yeah, lots of things to look at.
Okay, so distractors are a little hard. So I can tell also by my discrimination index, it's a negative discrimination. So your higher performing students who performed well on the exam didn't do well on this question at all. Okay, so we want a positive one. So, but how are my distractors working? My distractors are working pretty well, right? Okay, once again, this is a pretest. So, you know, so that hopefully context will help. Yeah, Steve.
Sorry, comment from the peanut gallery. For somebody not teaching them kind of on the outside, can you explain what a discrimination index is?
Yeah, a discrimination index helps you to determine those students who have done well. It basically groups the students who did well and the students who did poorly on the exam as a whole. And then it compares how those particular students did on this question. So did the high performing students get this question right? If they did, then it's a higher positive discrimination index. If they didn't, so your lower performing students got this question right, but your higher performing students didn't, then it's a negative discrimination
So
index.
0 a baseline of no real, right. Is a 0 kind of a neutral response? You can be positive, tells you one thing, and negative is.
You want a positive discrimination index. Okay? You always want a positive discrimination index in a really good exam. Okay, so question about so what? So we can pull this data. Who cares? What can you do with this? What does that tell you?
What your problems are.
Okay, it helps us understand where our problems are. Okay, so what do you do with that?
We know which areas students coming in know, since it's a pretest, what they
Uh-huh.
already know and what they don't know, so we can start to tailor, content from there.
Okay, so we can start to provide very specific feedback and tailor our information to them, saying, oh, we had a lot of students miss this particular question. Let's talk about it. There's some misunderstanding somewhere that I need to clarify. Okay? Yes.
It helps identify truly terrible questions so that we can submit course correction.
Perfect. So this is a great place. If you are starting to see patterns like this across your course, you definitely want to submit course fixes and say, hey, we might want to look at this question and decide what can we do to either fix the question, or do we need to fix the content so it aligns better with those questions? So what do we need to do to improve this so it will improve the course and improve the assessment of the course? Yes.
In addition, while that discussion is going on, it can give you an idea of what maybe next semester, assuming the discussion takes a while, you need to prep students for, and what do you need to give them a heads up for.
Perfect. So it helps clue you in for the next semester. Excellent. And that absolutely is critical in moving the work forward, right? It helps us understand, okay, students last semester had this problem. Let's see if we can fix it for next time. But really, the alignment is super important for us to be able to make sure our objectives and our assessment and our content are all in alignment. And our assessment scores can help us understand that, and looking at specific questions can help us understand, is that alignment happening? So when I look at the grades, I can actually go into my grades and locate your column of your grades, and then look at the statistics on that. So for example, this is one grade column. This is still the same pretest, but I can look at a little more data. Like I can look at mode, median, and standard deviation. I can look at mins and maxes. I can look at graphically what this data looks like. I can look at a frequency distribution. So I can look at, how are my students grade-wise? And that could tell me that information. And then, once again, we've seen a chart that looks like this. So this is very similar to what we saw in the quizzes, where we're able to see just the distribution of our students and how they did on that particular assignment. Okay, user progress. User progress is a tool where you open it up and you can see kind of at a glance, how is my class doing? Now there are 4 different tools that are visible on this page. So the ones that are default tools for you, see your students and then their content. So this will tell you how many content items they've participated in. So did they look at your readings? Did they look at your class materials? Did they access a quiz through the content? So for example, I can see, they're at 58%, some of them. I can see some that are at 16%. So this is relative to the class, so you'll want to think about, in comparison to everyone else in the class, how are my students all doing? So you can see your low performers and say, hey, they're not accessing as much content, what's going on? Or, wow, they're really working ahead, they're working fast. We can also look at objectives. And with our objectives, we're working right now on getting our objectives in. So some of the classes have them, like this Everyone Foundations class has them in already and connected to different activities within the course. This is a fairly large undertaking to be able to get everything aligned to all of the key assessments and activities. And so it is a work in progress. This is also a tool that Brightspace is working on. They're doing some improvements to this tool, which I'm excited about. As we've seen some of the work that they're doing with it, it seems like it's going to be a much better experience as we make those alignments. And we'll be able to pull a lot better data from those alignments. And so we're moving slowly at getting those in, just in anticipation of having that. But we should start seeing some of that come in toward the end of the year. And so we're anticipating that, but in the meantime, we are putting some of the objectives into those courses. So your class may not have any data in this particular column. That's basically what I'm saying. We can see logins. So are students logging into the system? So this particular widget just looks at the system logins. We'll talk about how to look at your specific class in just a minute. And then we can look at their latest grades. So all the scores that they've received in the last 10 or 15, however many items there are. And if you hover your mouse over these, it'll actually show their actual score and which assignment it was from. Okay, so these are the default items that you can see at a glance. If your particular class uses different tools or different activities, for example, if you use checklists, you can have an actual checklist column. So if you want to swap any of these out, what you'll do is you'll just come up to the settings on that page, and you'll be able to swap them out. Okay, so you can look at checklists, you can look at discussion participation. So it'll show you, are they reading, are they writing their posts, are they writing replies? You can look at Dropbox performance. So in the fall, Dropbox will be named assignments. So that change will be coming in the fall. We've been waiting for it for a year, so I'm excited that it's finally here. Quiz performance. So how have they done on their quizzes, and then survey completion. Okay, so some courses utilize these more than others. Some don't utilize these other tools, but some do. Yes?
If I want to access some of those additional tools, do I go under settings?
Yes, that's where you'll go. So you'll just go into settings, and then you'll swap them out. So you can only have 4 at a time, but you can swap them in and out as much as you want. Yes?
How is the discussion participation summary different than the discussion statistics you showed earlier?
It's not. They're the same. It basically will just show numbers is all. Okay, other questions about this overall user progress? Yes.
Is there, it's great to have these tools, and it's difficult sometimes when you have 50 students and you're trying to point out data and information. Are there more automated methods that can pull out like trouble spots and keys to look at?
That is a great question. That is something that I'm hoping to get a lot more information. We're going to the Brightspace convention in next month. That's one of the questions on my list is, great, you can pull individual student information. What about class information? Can you get me a little better class information? A couple of things that we're doing here at the university. We've been working really hard over the last month or so. No, 2 months. How long, Mike? That we've been working on our data extracts. We've been working for a while on that.
Yeah, for a while.
So we're excited about getting our data extracts. So what we're doing is we're actually pulling all of this data every day from Brightspace, like all of the interactions in Brightspace, and we're pulling them into our own data warehouse. So if you heard, I don't know if you heard at the breakfast this morning, Ben Fryer was talking a little bit about that, where we're trying to pull all this data into our data warehouse and then create some consumable way of actually getting information out. And so the evaluation team has been working really hard with the data warehouse team to be able to pull this data and make it something a little more meaningful. Not only class specific, but then looking also at all of the sections and pulling all that section data. So we can have section specific and then all of the section data to do some comparisons and things. So they're really working on that piece of it, because what we're getting right now from Brightspace is individual student based. And so yeah, if you have 50 students, it's like, you have to sit through every single student to get that.
I mean, it's just a process where, I mean, there's all these tools. As an instructor, you have to manually pull it up.
Yeah.
Then look at, I mean, if there's certain trouble spots, and if you can set those parameters on the trouble spots per class, and then you know, okay, these 5 students are not participating, and it just streamlines the data.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do, and
so.
we do want to streamline because we want you to get what you need when you need it, and in a way that's meaningful, so you can actually use it and then make course corrections as needed to make it better for your students. And so a couple of things that we're doing, we are this close to finishing transitions, and I'm really excited to be able to say, okay, we're done with transitions. Let's start looking at these types of data tools that we can share to get you better information.
Great.
So it's on the docket.
Great.
We're working toward that. I really feel like it is important, and I'm excited about being able to say, okay, done with transition, let's go. So let's get to the fun stuff. So any other questions about this user progress data? Okay, so within user progress then, you can actually dig into each individual tool and get information. So when you go into user progress, and you can go into a particular student, you can actually see, how long are they spending. So that's where you'll see how long they're spending on their different content activities. So I can see that they spent 28 minutes and 20 seconds on their prepare activity, which I would say that's probably a good amount of time in this prepare section for this particular course, because that's where they have their readings, that's where they have some activities that they start to think about the content. 36 seconds on an evaluation? Maybe. Actually, for this particular evaluation, I think there's only a one question. It's a one question thing. Did you go do the quiz? And so it's a very easy one for them to do. For this Dropbox assignment, 2 minutes, 59 seconds. Yeah, it's probably okay. All they need to do is upload their document to this activity. Okay, so this can help you understand time. You can also see when they last visited it. So when did they submit their or when did they do their activities? And then you can see their progress, like how far have they gotten in that. You can also see how long they've spent in the content area. So they've spent 12 hours and 45 minutes. Now in the last session, we were talking a little bit about, well, does that mean if they open it up and then go get dinner or open up Facebook or whatever? Yeah, it continues to count. But it will time out after 90 minutes? I can't remember exactly how long it is when it times out, but it will time out on them eventually. But that time is counted into those hours and minutes. Yes?
Can students see any of this for themselves?
Yes, they can. So students can absolutely see all of this individually for themselves. So actually, students would see this exact view right here. So this would be for this particular student. And then discussion, participation. You can see, how many posts have they read. You can see their overall stats. So on user progress, if you chose to put the discussion participation, I think you would see those top 3 numbers to help you help them understand, and you to see what their overall participation is. And then you can go into individual discussions as well to get some more data there and to see their individual posts. Yeah.
Is there a way to see how many times the instructor has posted?
Yes, you can also see how many times an instructor has posted. So in user progress, the instructor is included in there, and you can see that there. So there's another hand.
That was my question.
Same
too.
question. Okay. So yes, you can pull up instructor data. So that can be helpful, especially for TDLs who are wanting to do course visits, but also for you yourself. You can say, okay, this week I've done, I've replied to, 10 of my students, and then next week I'm going to reply to 10 different ones. And so you can monitor your own participation there. How many assignments have students submitted? So this is the Dropbox tool or the assignments tool. And here you'll be able to see feedback that you've left on an assignment for a student. You can see the grade that they earned on the assignment. I can see I have one more because I need to grade for this particular student. This particular feedback, the Dropbox feedback feeds nicely to the gradebook and to user progress, so it goes to both places, so students can find it easily in both places. Other tools are a little more cumbersome in where the feedback displays, but for Dropbox, it's going to show here and in the grades tool and in the Dropbox tool. So all three of those. Very nicely, yes.
I don't quite understand that. I know there's other things, like those sessions on feedback, but tell me one more time where is this the best practices place to put feedback?
So when you go into grade an assignment from the Dropbox tool, if you just put it in the feedback box, it's going to go to all the right places. And students will find it in the grades and user progress.
From the Dropbox or assignments.
Yep, so they can see it in all those different places. So Dropbox is probably the most streamlined for where the feedback goes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then once again, they're grades. So you can see individual grade items, and there is a setting in each individual grade item where you can turn on comparison data. So students can see the comparison data with themselves and the rest of the class. So here's an example of that. So here's where they performed. Here's the average of the class. Okay, so they can kind of align themselves up with everyone else in there. Once again, learning outcomes. So you can dig in a little more to individual learning outcomes. You can check, click on each one of these to expand and get more information. So I can see the student has completed 16. They've passed 16 of those objectives. And when we align those learning objectives with activities in the course, we can say these 4 activities contribute to this one learning objective. And as we do that, then maybe they've got some in progress, so maybe they've completed the first 2 activities, but they haven't completed the last 2. And then we can set a threshold for them to have achieved that. So for example, we can say, in order to say that you've passed this objective, you need to have received 70% or more on this particular assignment. And so when we're setting those up, we're really trying to keep those types of things in mind so that you'll be able to pull helpful information. But then it's say, yes, no, did you pass, did you not pass? So that's one of the tools that they are working on and expanding. And so we're excited about where we're going to get there. Then once again, quizzes. So this will tell you a little bit more about their quizzes, and you can see, you can click on each one to get more quiz data on them as individual students. This one is a new one that we've just recently gotten access to, this course access. So this is where you're going to be able to see when was the last time they logged into my class. Okay, so you can see in this particular class, it's blank up until there are like 4 times that they've accessed it, because that's when we actually turned it on. So this semester, it's going to look a little bit skewed, like really, they didn't access it till the end of the semester. But it's because that's when the tool was turned on, and so we can have access prior to that. But you can see they're logging in, but then you can compare. They're logging into the system, they're also logging into my class. Okay, so those are a couple of data points that are exciting. It's one of the tools that I'm excited about because it can help you as an instructor to say, yeah, students are accessing, they're in the course, they're doing things. Any questions about course access or login history? Okay. So some new reports that we're getting into the future, and we've just kind of started turning on some of these tools so that we can test them, so that we can see what kind of reports can we get, and is it going to be helpful to share? Because we don't want to just throw a bunch of data at you and say, here you go, good luck. Right? We want to try to make it strategic and think about what information we're sharing. So I can tell from this class engagement report that I've got 3 students who haven't accessed the course. Okay, so in the last 7 days. So I would want to be able to reach out to those students to say, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? What's going on in your life that's preventing you from being able to access the course? And then I can see a general grade distribution across my class as well. So these would be my individual students, and then it gives me a pretty good indicator of where they are. You know, are they doing well? Are they struggling a little bit? Or there's a nice red one that's like, something's going on really badly. And then when did they last visit? And looking at their discussion posts. So this is one report that we're looking at, and just making sure we understand it well enough to be able to share it with all of you. Yes?
I'm just curious, is that going to be, where are you going to park this? Would that be in the user progress? Would that be like when you first log in?
Yes, so it will be a widget when you first log in. So if we have time at the end, I can pull it up and let you see kind of what it looks like as a widget, and then how you can be able to access it. Okay, so this is one of the reports coming out that we're excited about. Here's another one where you can look at your class as a whole and say, when are my students logging in? All right, so when are they logging in? So it looks like in this class on the 20th of June, a lot of students logged in, maybe more than other times in the semester. So this is something that can give you an indication, oh, my students are only logging in on Saturdays or Mondays or Wednesdays or when assignments are due, or they're actually going in periodically through the week. Okay, so this gives you kind of an overall throughout time, and then you can scan across to change what is visible. So which period of time is visible for you.
So I get times as well, like what time most of my students are logging in each given day.
I don't remember. Let's look at that when we pull it up. Okay, if it shows times as well as days. I can't remember if it does or not. Okay, another one is tool access. So where are my students spending the most time? So for example, this pie chart tells me they're spending 45% of their time in content. They're spending 31% in discussions. All right, so this is another one where we can actually see where are they landing, where are they spending time, where are they getting maybe lost. If you go into Shalene Ackler's one of her presentations, she's talking about some things that we're trying to do with interfaces to make it an easier experience for students to get directly into the information of the course. And so she'll talk a little bit about that, just kind of how we're exploring changing the homepages for courses and changing homepages for the system so students can get into their content a little more easily. Okay, any questions about these? Any questions about anything that we've covered? Okay, we have about, yes, go ahead.
I have one question.
Yes.
And it's about when you were in the grade book and you said at one point that you can export the scores.
Uh-huh.
And is that just the final score on the assessment, or can you export also individual responses?
Yes. You mean for grades or for?
So like if I have an assessment and I want to know not just what their final score on that was, but also what they answered for question A and B.
Yeah.
Or, like.
Yep. Let's
yeah.
take a quick look at that. Take a quick look. Sorry, I just pull this up. And okay, so if I were to go to, does anyone have a class you're willing to share? Or should I just pull out my test course? I can pull it.
Do mine, B483.
B483?
You bet.
Section
I have no idea what's going on.
Section 5? Section 5, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. When I go into here, so if I want to look at grades, I can look at statistics. So if I just come to an individual assignment and look at statistics, and So if I were to look at, that's a discussion poll. A lot of them do have an export to CSV.
There's a switch to spreadsheet.
Hang on, here's your export. Hi, this is right here.
There you go.
Been a while since I played with exporting. Yes. So what you can do is you can export whatever key field you want. So they're a unique identifier. You can also put in their last and first names. And then you can export all of their individual assignments. And then you can crunch whatever you want to crunch there.
And that will give me, like, if they answered A for number one,
Okay, so you're looking more for quiz.
item statistics.
Item statistics on quizzes. So if you come into quizzes, and you look at statistics, what we can do is we can look at, let's look at the past quiz. Let's look at, so
This is a
here,
completion thing, so that's
Uh-huh.
not.
No.
That's separated, that's not my fault.
But I can look at question details here, and then export to CSV.
Okay.
So I come into the question details and then export it from here. Okay. If you are using random sections of questions, so for example, if your quiz or your assessment says, all right, pull 6 of these questions from this folder, 7 questions from this folder, your data is going to be a little harder to match up.
Yeah.
But if everyone's taking all this assessment, you'll be a lot better off for number crunching in this way.
But doing it this way, does it still link it to the individual?
Let's look.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. It's been, let's just pull it up. All right, we're going to look at, save that one. And, nope.
Yeah, that's my
Is that going to be a problem? Question stats. Okay. We only have a couple, 4 more minutes. What other questions do you have? Anything else you want to see?
So time to take a look at the time.
Oh,
usage
yeah,
side.
yeah. Let's look at that. So if I come back to my homepage, this homepage, this is what the widget looks like right here. And if I look at course access, so actually no, it only does show dates, not time. So, but let me put that on my list to see.
Well, it certainly isn't the biggest thing in the world, but it'd be interesting to know if all of my students are signing in at 9 o'clock at night, I could potentially make sure that I'm there online at the same time so that I can be interacting with them right then.
Yep, you sure can. So I wrote that down and I'll look into that. Okay, other things that would be helpful for you. Or any questions about Island Green in general?
I
Yes.
have one on the app,
Yes, the grader app?
the
Or-
grader app.
Uh-huh,
So I use Android,
okay,
and when I first started the semester, I'd open up the app, and it would give me a preview of a Word document.
uh-huh.
They quit doing that.
Let's look after.
Okay,
It shouldn't.
I suspected that.
It shouldn't, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but let's take a look at
Okay.
that. So, have you liked the app except for that?
I would prefer to be able to grade in the app.
Okay.
Because of that, the app is really nice for grading Dropbox assignments.
Yes, I would agree with that. I have had instructors in the past that said I can grade two times faster using the app, and then you can also grade offline. So I
Right.
have had some people say.
And that's given me trouble for the same reason, I think.
Okay,
They're
let's
probably
take
the same
let's
problem.
take a look. Yeah.
There are multiple apps.
Which app is he talking
So
about?
this is the assignment grader app.
Okay, thank you.
The assignment grader app. Another app that students have is called the Pulse app. That's one that students can use. I've had some students say, yeah, it's the best thing ever. Some students are like, man, it's okay. So it really is kind of an individual thing for them to decide whether or not it's useful for them, but it's available. And they continue to make improvements to it. That's one thing I have noticed, especially in the last probably 6 months, we're starting to see some nice changes. So we're just starting to see a lot of nice changes to the interface. We're starting to see some functionality changes that I'm excited about, and I think it will make your experience a lot better and the experience of students a lot better too. Okay, thanks for coming today. Thanks for participating.
Thank you.